Here's where we are in the governance series. We completed phase 1, seeing the system, letters 1 to 12. We are in phase 2, designing the system, letters 13 to 30. We completed stage 1, entering design, letters 13A and 13B. We completed stage 2, stabilizing the core, letters 14 to 17. We just completed letter 20C, when the organization cannot agree on what is true. That completed stage 3, seeing clearly, letters 18 to 20. We are in stage 4, from activity to coherence, letters 21 to 23. We are in letter 21, when activity is not enough. When is activity not enough? Most organizations are full of genuine activity. The work is real, the effort is real, the commitment is real. And yet there remains a distance between what is done and what the strategy was designed to produce. Not because people are not working, because the connection between daily activity and designed outcome was never built into the structure. Stage 4 is built to close that distance by design, not by incident. The word of an organization where daily activity and designed outcome are the same thing is coherence. Not coherence as a value the organization aspires to, but coherence as a structural condition. Something visible in how the organization is built, not just in what it says it intends. Is there a difference between a diagnosis and a resolution? It is easier than it appears to offer a diagnosis and call it a resolution. Name the pattern. Describe what it produces. Give it a design response title, and the reader leaves with a concept where they needed a tool. That is a diagnosis dressed as a resolution. It is a precise label for something that continues unchanged. This series has been careful to avoid that, and it is worth naming directly because the distinction matters more in stage 4 than anywhere else. Stage 4 is where design and daily activity meet, where the structural decisions built in earlier stages are tested against what the organization actually produces every day. A concept is not a design. A named accountability without an owner is not governance. Every response in stage 4 is built to produce something an organization can actually construct, not something it can reference. Every design response in stage 4 answers 3 questions. How is the question asked and when? Who holds the accountability for answering it? And what does the governance structure look like when the question has been answered, not just discussed? These 3 questions are what convert a diagnosis into a design resolution. Here's why each one carries its own weight. The first question, how is the question asked and when? The moment a governance question enters a decision, determines what it can produce. Asked before the metrics are set, before the system is built, before the budget is shaped, it becomes a design decision. Asked after, it becomes a review. The same question, asked at a different point, produces a different outcome for the organization. Timing is not administrative. It is structural. When you read this as an executive, consider what becomes available when a governance question enters a decision before it is made rather than after. Moving the question earlier is not a procedural adjustment. It is a governance design decision that changes what the organization is capable of producing. Question 2. Who holds the accountability for answering it? A question without an owner is a conversation. It may be a productive conversation. It may be documented, revisited, and referenced in the next meeting. But if no specific person is accountable for producing the answer, by name, in a governance record, not by implication or shared understanding, the question will circulate until something more urgent displaces it. This is not a reflection on the people inside the organization. It is a structural condition. Organizations are full of questions that everyone agrees are important, and no one is specifically accountable for answering. Naming the accountability converts a question from a recurring agenda item into a governance obligation. Shared accountability is not accountability. It is shared hope. Question 3. What does the governance structure look like when the question has been answered, not just discussed? This is the question that exposes the largest gap between a management response and a design response. Organizations are skilled at producing the artifacts of resolution: the meeting notes, the framework document, the named owner, the initiated title. Each of those artifacts is real. Each can be pointed to, reviewed, and reported on. None of them is evidence that the organization will behave differently the next time a relevant decision arises. The governance structure is not what is written about how the organization operates. It is what actually shapes decisions as they are made in real time. A design response is embedded in that real-time process, not stored alongside it in a reference document. Until the answer to a governance question is built into how decisions are actually made, it has been only a discussion. Discussion is a management response. The embedded design is the resolution. That is why the third question is key. It forces the distinction between evidence that a conversation happened and evidence that a design decision is now embedded in how the organization operates. Those are two different things. And in the absence of this question, organizations consistently mistake one for the other for years. Local optimization, system-level performance design. In letter 7, the credit union's contact center was built around internal efficiency. Pressing 0, the natural action of a caller who cannot navigate the menu, returned an invalid selection. Every department was performing. The enterprise was not producing what it was built to deliver. This is local optimization. Departments pursue their own performance while the enterprise system they are part of declines. The signal phrase is immediate and recognizable. Our team delivered everything requested. It is true. What was requested was never connected to what the organization was designed to produce. The design response is system-level performance design. Here is what applying it actually requires, answered through the 3 questions. How was the question asked and when? The governing question of system-level performance design is, does this department's performance, as currently measured, produce the enterprise outcome this organization was built to deliver? That question belongs before the metrics are set, not after. Asked after, it becomes an audit. Asked before, it becomes a design decision. The moment a department sits down to define its performance metrics, what it will be measured on, what it will be rewarded for, what successes look like for that team, is the precise moment the governing question of system-level performance design either enters the room or it does not. That moment is not a strategy session. It is not a board review. It is the specific operational conversation where accountabilities are set. If that question is not present in that conversation, the department will define its metrics based on what it can control, what it has historically measured, and what feels achievable. Those metrics will be internally logical. They will be defensible, and they will have no design connection to the enterprise outcome. The department will then be held accountable for metrics that were never connected to what the organization was built to produce. That is not negligence. That is what happens when the question is absent from the room where the accountability set. The metric setting conversation is the only moment where this question functions as a design decision rather than an audit. When it is absent, local optimization is not a future risk, it is already built in. When it is present, the department leads that conversation with metrics that serve both its own performance and the enterprise outcome, designed to cohere from the moment they are established. Who holds the accountability for answering the governing question of system-level performance design? The question cannot be answered by the department alone. It requires 2 people in the same room. the person who owns the department's performance metrics, and the person who owns the enterprise outcome those metrics are supposed to serve. In the credit union scenario, that is the contact center director and whoever holds accountability for customer retention at the enterprise level. If those two people have never been in the same room when the metrics were set, system level performance design has not been applied. The accountability is not a conversation. It is a named structural connection between two roles. What does the governance structure look like when this has been answered, not just discussed? You know the question has been answered structurally when you can draw a direct line documented in the governance record from the department's performance metric to the enterprise outcome it is designed to serve. That line is not a meeting note. It is not a reference document. It is a documented accountability connection that exists in the governance structure and can be located by anyone who needs to act on it. In the credit union, the evidence is visible in the routing logic itself. The first design decision in the contact center system names whose interest it serves, the caller or the call center's internal efficiency score. When someone can point to that decision in the governance record and name who was accountable for it, local optimization has received a design response. Until then, it has received a name. Here's the diagnostic question for your organization. Can you point to a written accountability connection between a department metric and the enterprise outcome it is designed to serve? If you can, system-level performance design is in place. If you cannot find it in the governance record, it does not exist in the structure, regardless of how many times the connection has been described in a meeting. Local optimization is the first of 7 pattern stage 4 resolves. Each one carries the same structure: the pattern named, the design response named, and the 3 questions answered in operational terms, so the response can be built, not just recognized. When all 7 structural patterns have been resolved, your organization has a direct answer to the question stage 4 was built to ask. Does what we do every day actually produce what our strategy was designed to serve? When the answer is yes, not as a claim, but as something visible in the governance structure, teams feel their work landing. Decisions move without being relitigated. The strategy is not something written in a document somewhere. It is something the people inside the organization can see their daily activity producing. That is coherence. Not a destination to aspire toward, a structural condition that has been built. The pattern discussed in this letter is local optimization, which resolves to system-level performance design. I will speak with you in the next video letter. Thank you.